December 1944. Colditz Castle, eastern Germany. Behind stone walls 300 feet above the Mulde River, German guards watched their most troublesome prisoners, British pilots, American bomber crews, men who had tried to escape before, men who would try again. The guards knew these prisoners played cards every night, bicycle brand decks, white and blue backs, standard 52 cards, games of poker, games of bridge, harmless entertainment to pass the time in captivity. The Germans searched every package that entered the camp. They opened boxes, they examined contents, they looked for weapons, they looked for tools. They found nothing suspicious in the playing cards. They never suspected what was hidden between the paper layers. By late 1944, the Allied air war over Europe had reached its peak. American bombers flew daily missions deep into Germany. The 8th Air Force alone lost more than 26,000 men killed in action. Another 28,000 became prisoners of war. Every downed pilot represented months of training, thousands of dollars in investment, experience that could not be replaced. The Germans understood this value. They placed high-priority prisoners, the ones most likely to escape, in camps like Colditz, Oflag IV-C, established in 1939 in a Renaissance castle built in 1046. The Germans believed it was escape-proof. Sheer walls, guard towers, dogs, searchlights, multiple security checkpoints. Previous escape attempts had failed. Tunnels collapsed, disguises discovered. Prisoners caught before reaching Allied lines. American intelligence needed a solution. The Office of Strategic Services, predecessor to the CIA, worked on the problem. British MI9, focused on escape and evasion, had been developing aids since 1940. Silk maps that would not rustle, compasses hidden in uniform buttons, miniature saws concealed in combs. But getting these items into camps remained difficult. German guards inspected packages thoroughly. The OSS and MI9 needed something Germans would never suspect, something prisoners could use openly, something that looked completely ordinary. They found their answer in Norwood, Ohio. The United States Playing Card Company had manufactured cards since 1867. By World War II, bicycle brand cards were standard issue for American troops. Soldiers carried them everywhere. The company had already converted most of its factory to war production, parachutes for anti-personnel fragmentation bombs, electronics for the Navy, radar components for the signal corps. In 1943, American intelligence approached the company with an unusual request. Could they hide escape maps inside playing cards without changing their appearance? The cards had to look identical to standard decks. They had to feel identical. They had to play identically. German guards inspected packages under bright lights. They bent cards. They shuffled them. They looked for anything unusual. The solution lay in the card construction itself. Every modern playing card consists of 2 paper layers laminated and glued together. This creates the thickness and rigidity needed for shuffling and dealing. The US PCC engineers realized they could sandwich something between these layers, something thin enough not to change the card thickness, something that would remain invisible until revealed. They chose maps, not cloth maps, not paper maps that would crinkle, maps printed on material thin enough to hide between card layers but strong enough to survive handling. The printing required precision. Each of the 52 cards in a deck would contain one section of a larger map. When assembled in the correct order, these sections would form a complete escape route map covering hundreds of square miles. The technical challenge was substantial. The map sections had to be printed at microscopic scale. Roads, rivers, railways, towns, elevation markers, compass directions, all compressed onto pieces smaller than standard playing card dimensions. The printing had to be waterproof. It had to remain legible after being concealed between paper layers. It had to survive the moisture needed to separate the cards. The manufacturing process required absolute secrecy. Regular production workers could not know what they were making. The company set up a separate secure facility. Only cleared personnel entered. Each deck was assembled by hand. The map section was positioned between the two paper layers. Adhesive was applied around the edges only. The center remained unbonded. This allowed the layers to separate when wet. 48 of the 52 cards contained map sections. The 4 aces held micromaps showing specific details. Roads too small for the main map. River crossing points. Railway bridges. German checkpoint locations. The joker cards included instructions. Assembly order. How to wet the cards properly. How long to wait before peeling. What sequence to follow. Spades first. Then diamonds. Then clubs. Then hearts. This order created the map layout from north to south, west to east. Each card locked into position like a jigsaw puzzle piece. The complete map showed escape routes from prison camps to neutral Switzerland, or to Allied lines in France, depending on the camp location. Some cards included text instructions. Specific warnings. The southern Germany maps noted that escapes into Switzerland had the greatest chance of success if attempted across the frontier of the canton of Schaffhausen. They warned to avoid the Lake Constance region where German patrols were heavy. They instructed escapees to look for overland electric cables, find the 70-foot-high steel pylons carrying 7 cables from Waldshut to Ravensburg. These marked safe approach routes. The instructions specified hills for observation points, fields that must be crossed carefully at night. Riverbanks ideal for following, while remaining concealed. Everything a man on foot needed to cover 200 miles through enemy territory. Production numbers remain classified. The USPCC destroyed most records after the war. The operation violated the Geneva Convention. Smuggling escape aids to prisoners could have resulted in severe consequences, not just for the company, for the prisoners who received them. If Germans discovered the deception, all Red Cross packages might have been banned. Thousands of POWs depended on these packages for basic nutrition. The secrecy extended to distribution. The decks could not simply be mailed to camps. That would be too obvious, too traceable. Instead, American MISX and British MI9 integrated the cards into existing aid programs. The Red Cross sent thousands of packages to Allied prisoners. These packages contained food, clothing, medical supplies, books, and playing cards. Regular bicycle decks went into most packages. The special map decks went into selected packages only, marked with a signal the prisoners would recognize, a crooked cellophane seal on the box, not torn, not damaged, just slightly askew. Crooked to the left meant ordinary cards. Crooked to the right meant map deck. MISX operated from Fort Hunt in Alexandria, Virginia, a facility known only as P.O. Box 1142. From this location, up to 100 care packages per day went to European prison camps. Many contained hidden escape aids, radios concealed inside baseballs, compasses and uniform buttons, over 5 million produced, hacksaw blades and combs, and playing cards with maps. The British sent additional packages from London addresses. Many of these addresses no longer existed, destroyed in the Blitz, but the packages still arrived at German camps, inspected by guards who found nothing unusual. Delivered to prisoners who knew exactly what to look for. The Christmas 1944 shipment represented the largest distribution, thousands of packages, hundreds of map decks. The timing was deliberate. As Allied forces advanced from the west and Soviet forces from the east, escape opportunities would increase. Prisoners who could navigate to Allied lines might reach freedom within weeks instead of months. If you are finding this deep dive into American intelligence innovation interesting, a quick subscribe helps the channel continue producing these stories. We are about to see exactly how these seemingly ordinary cards changed hundreds of lives. The prisoners needed to use the cards carefully. German guards watched card games. They suspected nothing about the games themselves. Poker was popular. bridge tournaments ran for weeks, but the prisoners could not simply soak all 52 cards at once. That would be obvious, suspicious, potentially deadly. Instead, they worked gradually, one card per night, sometimes two. During the game, a card would accidentally fall into a water cup or get splashed during washing. The moisture had to penetrate the adhesive. This took time, 5 to 10 minutes of soaking, then careful separation of the layers, peeling from the corners, revealing the map section hidden inside. The prisoners assembled the maps in secret locations, hidden rooms, false wall panels, under floorboards. They memorized the routes, studied the landmarks, planned their attempts. Some coordinated with other prisoners who had different map sections, creating redundancy, ensuring multiple men knew the complete route. At Colditz Castle, the first escapes using the cards began in early 1945. Exact dates remain classified. What is documented? 32 men successfully escaped from Colditz using information from the map decks. This represented a significant percentage of all successful Colditz escapes. The castle had a reputation as impossible to escape. Multiple tunnels had been discovered. Disguise attempts had failed. Yet 32 men made it out using routes revealed by playing cards. The total impact extended beyond Colditz. Across all German prison camps, the cards prompted more than 316 escape attempts. Not all succeeded. Many prisoners were recaptured. Some died in the attempt, but 316 men tried because they had maps, they had routes, they had specific instructions about where to go and what to avoid. Compare this to other escape methods. Tunneling required months of work. Disguises required perfect German language skills. Bribing guards required resources prisoners did not have. But a map required only knowledge, memorization, courage to use it. The cards provided that knowledge. German intelligence never discovered the deception during the war. They inspected thousands of packages. They examined countless playing card decks. They bent the cards. They shuffled them under lights. They never thought to soak them. The concept was too unusual, too unexpected. German thoroughness worked against them. They looked for conventional hiding places, secret compartments, false bottoms in boxes. They never imagined intelligence agencies could hide information inside the cards themselves. After the war, the program remained classified for 3 decades. Former OSS officers could not discuss it. The USPCC could not acknowledge it. MISX files were sealed. The reason was legal. The Geneva Convention prohibited certain types of aid to prisoners. Escape maps potentially violated these provisions, revealing the program might have created diplomatic problems, might have affected treatment of American prisoners in future conflicts. The classification began to lift in the 1970s. Historians researching World War II intelligence operations found references in declassified documents. Former prisoners began sharing stories. The USPCC finally acknowledged its role. By then, most of the original participants had died. The few survivors could finally discuss what they had done. Production estimates remain uncertain. Thousands of decks were printed. How many thousands? Nobody knows. The company destroyed production records. MISX destroyed distribution records. Only 2 original decks are confirmed to survive. Both are displayed at the International Spy Museum in Washington, D.C. These decks show the white and blue bicycle design, the crooked cellophane seal, the cards that peel apart when wet, revealing map sections underneath. The innovation represented pure American problem-solving. Intelligence agencies identified a need. Engineers found a technical solution. Manufacturers executed it perfectly. The entire operation remained secret for 30 years. That level of security, maintained across multiple organizations and thousands of participants, demonstrated organizational excellence as much as technical excellence. The playing cards proved something else. American intelligence understood psychology. They knew German guards would inspect packages. They knew Germans were thorough. So they created something that looked so ordinary, so innocuous, that thorough inspection would reveal nothing. The hiding place was not in a secret compartment. It was in plain sight. In the construction of the cards themselves, this concept, hiding in plain sight, became a principle of American intelligence operations. It influenced later programs, later technologies. The idea that the best way to conceal something is not to hide it, but to make it look like something else entirely. The map decks represented one piece of a larger escape and evasion program. MISX produced millions of items, but the playing cards stand out because of their elegance, their simplicity. 52 cards, 52 pieces of a map. Assemble them correctly and find your way to freedom. No batteries required. No mechanical parts to break. Just paper, ink, and American ingenuity. The post-war validation came from multiple sources. The British acknowledged MI9 used similar cards. The Soviets never developed comparable technology. The Germans, in their thorough post-war analysis of Allied intelligence operations, admitted they never suspected the playing cards. They had inspected them repeatedly. They had found nothing. That is the measure of success in intelligence work. Not what you accomplish, but what your enemy never discovers. 316 escape attempts. 32 successful escapes from Colditz alone. Hundreds more attempts at other camps. And the Germans never knew why prisoners suddenly had accurate maps. They never connected the escapes to the innocuous playing card decks they had inspected and approved. December 1945. The war in Europe had ended. Allied forces had liberated the camps. The prisoners who used the map decks to escape were home. The cards themselves were collected and destroyed. The program was classified. The participants were sworn to secrecy. And a deck of bicycle playing cards, white and blue design, crooked cellophane seal, returned to being exactly what it appeared to be, an ordinary deck of cards for passing the time, except that for 32 men at Colditz and hundreds more across Germany, those cards had been anything but ordinary. They had been the difference between imprisonment and freedom, between waiting for liberation and taking action, between hoping for rescue and rescuing themselves, all hidden between two layers of paper in 52 playing cards that looked like every other deck in the world. American engineering did not always mean bigger bombs or faster planes. Sometimes it meant solving the problem nobody else thought could be solved, making the impossible look ordinary, hiding information where nobody thought to look, and bringing men home who would have otherwise waited years in captivity. The numbers proved it. The 316 attempts, the 32 successes from Colditz, the thousands of decks distributed, the 0 German discoveries during the war, the 30 years of maintained secrecy afterward. That was not luck. That was American intelligence doing what it did best, solving problems through innovation, through precision, through attention to every detail that mattered. The playing cards worked because they were perfect. Perfect in appearance, perfect in execution, perfect in concept. And that perfection, that absolute commitment to making something look ordinary while being extraordinary, defined American intelligence operations during World War II. It defined them afterward. It defines them still.